Hi everyone, my name is Beth Janetsky, and in this video I'd like to share with you a really great learning tool called ST-Math. ST-Math was designed by the Mind Research Institute at UC Irvine, and it's essentially a computer game. It's available at school and at home on computers and iPads, and it's a program that helps support students' development in conceptual understanding of Common Core aligned math concepts. This happens through students' use of spatial temporal reasoning. Basically what that means is that students are required to use higher levels of working memory and thinking ahead to solve complex math problems, and they're practicing their math concepts along the way. Spatial temporal reasoning is actually where the ST comes from in ST-Math. The really cool thing about this game is that it's non-linguistic. There are no written or verbal directions or even math symbols, if you can believe that, to tell students what to do to solve each problem. Instead, it shows an example, and students basically just have to problem solve and figure it out. The game stars a little penguin named Gigi, and students have to work through a series of problems in the form of animated visual scenarios to clear the path so Gigi can walk across their computer screen. Now, I could go on forever and a day about this program, but I think it would be more effective and certainly more interesting if I actually show you, so let's get started. So this is ST-Math, and right here in the middle is Gigi. The students know and recognize Gigi so well that most of them can get to ST-Math from Google Chrome just by finding the teeny little icon of Gigi on the bookmarks bar. It's quite impressive for some of our students that don't use computers well. They can find ST-Math. So at this point, the students would click on Gigi, and it loads. And on a campus computer, it would be registered to the school, but since I am at home and not registered, I have to click on this homework button. This is what students would click on from their own home computers to access the program. So I click on that, and the next step is for the students to put in their password. I mentioned before that this program doesn't use language, so as you can see, this isn't your typical logon screen where you have to type in your username and password. Instead, each student's password is a series of icons they must click on, such as numbers, letters, or easily recognizable objects. Each student is assigned their own password when they begin using ST-Math, and the first few levels focus on teaching the student which icons they must click and where they are placed on the screen. Again, I don't have an account, so I don't have a password, but I can click through and show you what the password process looks like. Now, you'll notice that when I click on one icon for the password, all of the icons change. This is so that students don't get confused with the order of their characters, and they can just focus on remembering which icon they must click on. Once the whole password is entered, I'll get there in a second, Gigi would come out the other side of the tunnel. But again, since I don't have a password, it won't let me log in. So for this portion of the video, I will be using a demo of the game that you can actually easily access online at mindresearch.org/demo, and I highly recommend that you do that. I'm going to click on play. It's logging me in, and it's going to have us do fractions today. So these are the levels. In just a second, these are the levels, and you can see these are the progressions in the levels that the students take to work on each concept. For this, I've already chosen the level and the concept I want to show you. And I did this ahead of time because honestly, I needed to figure out the concept and the solutions myself before I tried to do it in front of the audience. So I'm going to do this one. And we're on level 5. This is a game that illustrates essentially adding and subtracting fractions and whole numbers. You can see that there's also an element of estimation in these problems. And again, all the scenarios involve Gigi going along some sort of path or clearing a path so Gigi can cross the screen. So I'll show you. These levels do have audio cues, as you may have just heard, so you can hear when I get an answer right. I get a ding, but if I solve an answer incorrectly, then I hear a different sound to show that I've made a mistake. This bottom of the screen shows the progression in the level. This shows me how many lives Gigi has left. Also at the bottom of the screen, this would be the student's login information. This button is for when a student needs help. So they click on this button and their screen shows this red box around it. This is so that if a student needs help, the teacher can easily see this red box from across the room or on the other side of the computer lab, and they can come by and offer assistance to the student. This button, when it's lit, will give a suggestion on how to solve each scenario. This restarts the problem, and this is to go back or to exit. Let's do a couple more of these. They're kind of fun. There we go. Let's get through this and see. Oops. So you can see when a student fails, then they go back and they try again. Something that I've found over the years is that this game can actually be really challenging. I've seen students solve problems that I couldn't even figure out. So this game definitely requires some higher order thinking, and many students do struggle with it. My focus is mild to moderate special ed, and something that I've noticed with typically performing students is that they tend to understand the concepts more easily, and therefore they tend to be able to complete levels in the game more quickly and successfully. Meanwhile, students in special ed tend to do better when they are explicitly taught how to solve certain types of math problems, and therefore they need a lot more verbal support and explanations of solving the problems when playing ST Math. Again, this is just my observation. It's not research-based. That's just something I've noticed over the years. This is my 4th year in my position, and I think it's my 3rd using ST Math. So I do think it's a great program, but like everything else in education, it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all. This is definitely more of a learning tool that enhances learning, but it doesn't necessarily replace direct instruction at all. How teachers and school sites use this program varies. At my site, my principal wants every class to be using ST Math on a regular basis, ideally every day. Lots of our classes do have their own laptops, but some don't, and we only have one computer lab, so it definitely doesn't always happen every day. Some teachers align their classroom instruction with levels on ST Math, while others teachers just allow students to try to figure out the concepts on their own in the progression that the game sets up. I've seen other teachers assign homework on ST Math, and that's when the students would log on at home and click on that homework button. So it really depends on the school, the teacher, and what they want their students to get out of using the program. I personally think it's used best when it's supplemental to concepts that are already being taught. I think students are able to relate to it and interact with it better when it applies to something else that they are learning. Sometimes when students just go in the computer lab and start playing, they're not always on the same concept they may be learning in the classroom, so they end up having to work harder to figure out the concepts. And a lot of times they do get frustrated. I mean, like I said before, a lot of the more typically functioning students in special ed, a lot of more typically functioning students are more successful with this game. They click through the levels, and sometimes it seems like they don't even have to think about it. Now, other students in special ed may take an hour on subitizing, and that's perfectly fine. Sometimes they end up having to redo the level 5 times before they pass it. That's no fun for any student, let alone one that already struggles in the classroom. So what I found when working with students in special ed on ST Math is that not only do they need the verbal cues and prompting and support through the levels, but they need it repeatedly, sometimes for every scenario until they've mastered the level. That's just what they need to be successful, and that's perfectly okay. But special ed is one area in which the non-linguistic quality of this game actually can be a hindrance. So I'll get off my special ed soapbox for right now, and I'll give you some more background information on ST Math. It's available for elementary school, including transitional kindergarten or TK. It's also available for middle school as a supplement and high school as part of a response to intervention model. And it's available to homeschoolers as well. Now, the big question is, how much does this all cost? According to the Mind Research website, it's available for homeschool students for about $200 for one student, and about $150 for each student if there are 2 or more students. I wasn't able to get an exact calculation for what it would cost for a district to purchase the program, but I did speak with one of the former principals in my district. She reported that when she purchased the program for her school, it was about $8,000 per grade level, just for the computer version. I'm not sure if that's just for her school or if that was for the entire district or if that includes the iPad version, but with as fantastic as this program is, it is obviously not cheap either. This is the end of my presentation. I hope you all gained something, maybe learned something new from it. Honestly, my recommendation for you now, kind of a where do we go from here, is go play around with ST Math. Go play the demo, see what it's all about. See what would be expected from your students if you were to use this program with them. You won't be disappointed. If anything, it'll show you how hard their brains have to work to figure out some of these scenarios. And you will be even more impressed by them afterward when they're successful at it. And who knows, you might end up falling in love with the program and you might want to use it in your own classroom. Maybe some of you will go to your districts and advocate for getting this program to use in your own classes. The possibilities are endless. So go play around with it, explore. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy. Bye.